Charlie Villanueva de los Detroit Pistons está mirando Tira Blanco Deportes.
Keez on the court with Stephen A. Smith, ESPN, Madison Square Garden. Mr. Smith, happy Thanksgiving, man. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very, very well. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there.
Stephen A., I know that you're a boxing aficionado. I hear you talk about it.
I'm an aficionado, but I'm a big-time fan, no doubt about it.
But I know that you're one of the guys that's trying to make this whole Pacquiao-Mayweather thing happen, and it's looking like it's not going to happen. But something else happened in the sport of boxing, a major loss, and want to get your words on this, okay, man? The terrible loss of the Macho Man, Hector Macho Camacho. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, the first thought is that it's tragic. 50 years of age, to go out that way, obviously it's a bad, bad thing. Unfortunately, there were things that transpired in his life outside of the boxing ring that sort of gave you an indication that one day it could end up ending this way for him. My heart goes out to the whole Camacho family, Camacho Jr., his parents, you know, his siblings, if he had any. You know, you just hear those things and the family struggling because you don't want to take him off the life support because throughout his life, the battles that he had to fight from Harlem to back in San Juan and beyond, you know, you just sort of felt like he had 9 lives. Somehow, some way he'd get out of this. But you know what? The Lord calls us all when it's our time. And he gives you that amount of time that he gives you on earth, and then at some point in time, he says enough's enough. And hopefully in Hector Camacho's case, he says it's time to come home. And so, you know, as a boxing fan, you appreciated his flamboyancy, but more importantly, he was an incredibly skilled boxer. He didn't have the biggest punch in the world, even though he had some knockouts, including that of Sugar Ray Leonard, to pretty much end his career. But at the same time, he fought a lot of great fights. He was a magnificent boxer. He was a credit to the industry in terms of what he was like once he stepped into the ring. He fought some of the great ones. He ended up being one of the great ones. And he's going to be sorely missed because when you talk about promoting the sport of boxing, he was good for the sport and he was good for the game. He wasn't somebody that came in, was out of shape, and you knew he was going to get knocked out or whatever. He could give you a fight. He was a world champion, and it's a hard thing to pull that off, but he did it despite his trials and tribulations. He did it, and I give him a lot of credit for that.
Stephen A., where would you rank Camacho amongst the greats of today, or actually the current fighters of today and the greats of yesteryear? Where would you rank Camacho?
Well, I would tell you that he could beat any of the guys today because of his boxing skills. He didn't have the punching power. He wasn't a Sugar Ray Leonard, even though he beat Sugar Ray at the tail end of his career. He wasn't a Sugar Ray Leonard. He wasn't a Tommy Hitman Hearns. He wasn't a Roberto Duran. He wasn't somebody like that. He was second tier, but it was upper second tier. You know, he was up there. He deserved to be mentioned. He deserved to be respected. He was somebody that could deliver the goods, and you knew when he walked into the ring, he had a chance. You didn't summarily dismiss him and say there's no way he could win this fight. You always knew there was a chance he could beat you because his boxing skills were that magnificent.
Stephen A., when you say like better than the fighters of today, who are some of the fighters that you're talking about in comparison to Camacho?
Well, anybody but Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think that he could beat a Pacquiao. I think he could beat a Juan Manuel Marquez. I definitely think that he could beat, you know, the Andre Bertos, the Victor Ortiz. Those guys weren't on his level. So when I look at Hector Macho Camacho, I'm saying that you have to be a member of the elite to beat him. You couldn't be average. You couldn't be even above average and beat him. You had to be an elite fighter to beat Hector Macho Camacho because his skills were that surreal, and he could give you a boxing lesson.
I remember growing up, besides watching Duran and Sugar Ray, whenever you saw Mike Tyson or Camacho, it was must-see TV. Do you agree?
To some degree because of his flamboyancy. But again, a lot of fights went to decision. With Tyson, knockout. With Sugar Ray Leonard, despite his flamboyancy, his you know, all of his theatrics, knockout power. Hitman was Hitman for a reason. So Camacho wasn't that, but he was everything else.
When you say flamboyant, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite outfit that Camacho brought to the ring ever?
No. it wasn't his outfits, it was his bravado, it was his machismo, it was the fact that he walked into the ring believing he could beat you no matter who you were. That's what I mean.
Well, Stephen A., I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to talk about Camacho. You're loved in Puerto Rico, man, and constantly tuned in. I know you do.
In fact, that's my inspiration. That's why I want to learn Spanish so badly, because I love the Latinas. There's no doubt. I don't know how much they love me, but I love them.
I'll tell you what, Stephen A., if you come to Puerto Rico, you could be Puerto Rican too for the day. Honorary Puerto Rican, brother.
Thank you so much.
Gemini Keez on the court with Stephen A. Smith, and you're watching TiroABlancoDeportes.com. Keep it locked, and don't shrink that screen.